We continue our reading of God's Dream for You, the Chosen, a morning devotional by author Dwight K. Nelson. Today's reading, December 15, The Jesus Generation, One Line, One Life, One Generation. He must increase, but I must decrease. John 3:30. And what is the one line that guides the one life of that one generation at the end of time? That crossing over generation that refuses to imbibe what C.S. Lewis called the sweet poison of the false infinite, and embraces instead God's call to radical counter-cultural holiness. Ponder the last recorded words of that friend of God's before he was arrested by a guilty king, incarcerated in a lonely fortress, and then, on a starry night, beheaded at the behest of an insanely vengeful queen. For it is through his last words that the John the Baptist generation and the Jesus generation are co-joined in a common bond. He must increase, but I must decrease. John instructed his dwindling followers, Christ must increase, but I must decrease. Could there be a nobler desire for a generation living at the edge of time? As one writer expressed it, quote, "May I take 10 looks at Christ, O God, for every look I take at me," end quote. May my preoccupation for Jesus be 10 times greater for him than for me. The Desire of Ages describes the paradox, quote, "Looking in faith to the Redeemer, John had risen to the height of self-abnegation, self-renunciation. The soul of the prophet, emptied of self, was filled with the light of the divine," end quote. Page 179, 180. The paradoxical height of self-abnegation, no wonder Job himself could exclaim, quote, "Therefore I abhor myself and repent in dust and ashes," end quote. Job 42:6. He must increase, but I must decrease, for that is how the 144,000 choose to live. They follow the Lamb wherever he goes, Revelation 14:4. They live by John's credo, for there is no other way for the brine of self's fallen kingdom to be expunged from their lives and cleansed from their souls. Christ must increase, but I must decrease. More and more of him, less and less of me. Theodore Monod composed a hymn that sings John's prayer. Oh, the bitter pain and sorrow that a time could ever be when I proudly said to Jesus, all of self and none of thee. Yet he found me. I beheld him bleeding on the accursed tree, and my wistful heart said faintly, some of self and some of thee. Day by day his tender mercy, healing, helping, full and free, brought me lower while I whispered, less of self and more of thee. Higher than the highest heavens, deeper than the deepest sea, Lord, thy love at last has conquered, none of self and all of thee. Christ in Song, number 218. This concludes our reading today of God's Dream for You, the Chosen.